Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Never Split Up podcast. My name is Nolan, along with Anthony, and today is episode 82. We are covering Final Destination 3, released in 2006. What's up, Ant? How you doing?
I'm good. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm excited to keep going into this franchise. We're on number 3 now. If you guys haven't watched our first 2 episodes on the franchise, we just covered them the last couple weeks. We're doing them all back to back in preparation for Bloodlines. That's correct. That's the subtext of the new one, Final Destination Bloodlines, which is coming out. It's going to be a few weeks from now. It's coming out soon. I got to think about getting my tickets. I don't know what time or what day I'm going to see it, but it's definitely going to be opening weekend for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this one, Final Destination 3. Now we're kind of just in our groove with this franchise, and they're just, having some fun. So I'm excited to talk about this one.
I'm very excited to talk about this one.
Yeah. Anything you wanted to cover before we just dive into the movie?
No, just make sure you guys check out the first 2 Final Destination movies we covered. I know part 2 came out around like spring break, Easter holidays, so don't forget about that one. Catch up on that. And we're just trucking along. We're halfway through the franchise now, so I cannot wait to finish it out with the new one coming out and do our ranking. I'm so curious to see how you rank these movies, and I'm just excited that we're getting through our franchise back to back.
Yeah, just a reminder, if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes in this franchise, we're going to be doing a ranking at the very end, and we're going to give our scores away as well. So we're kind of withholding our scores, so we don't even know each other's rankings. Right. We obviously do deep dives, so we kind of have a feeling of how we feel, but, we're not going to really know the rankings until the very end. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But, okay, yeah, without further ado then, let's just dive right in. I don't really have any other housekeeping to go over, I don't think. So, yeah, just listen to our first 2 episodes, listen to our previous episodes that we've done these last month or so. I know we covered a big one, 28 Days Later. If you didn't check that out, we're going to be covering the sequel to that soon, so look out for that. And yeah, we got some fun stuff in the future, so definitely follow us on social media to stay up to date with that. But okay, let's get into our not our final thoughts. Let's get into our initial thoughts. You want to start with the cast and crew and the synopsis like we normally do?
Yeah, for sure. So guys, I'll give you the IMDb synopsis. Wendy Christensen and a group of teens who escaped a fatal roller coaster crash face a bloody date with death. It was directed by James Wong, who also directed the first movie, and it stars the lovely horror scream queen Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Ryan Merriman, Texas Battle, Amanda Crew, Crystal Clow, and we have a fun little, supporting cast in this as well, like we always do in these movies. So I'm very excited. 2006 was the year of my introduction to Mary Elizabeth Winstead to me. This was the first movie I saw her in. And she did back-to-back 2006 slasher horror movies with this and Black Christmas, which we also covered. So, I have a very soft spot for her in the horror genre. So I'm very excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, she's great. She's a darling. I've admired her work for some time now.
Yeah.
In all of her films. She's now in the Star Wars universe, which I love. She's married to Ewan McGregor, who's obviously in the Star Wars universe. So, special place in my heart for Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and she definitely helps elevate this movie as well. She's just awesome in everything she does. You could tell she really kind of puts her all into all of her work. She doesn't half-ass anything. So, yeah, definitely got a fun cast. As I mentioned in the previous episodes, as we get into these sequels, these characters become more kind of larger than life, if you will, and a lot more memorable, especially their kill sequences. So I think that helps kind of flesh out these characters because we don't get a ton of, backstory and with all these side characters because we normally have a big group that has to die. It's boom, boom, boom. You can't say, if people don't love this franchise, that's fine, but you can't say that these movies aren't fast paced because they're all just fly by with some fun kills. They're all, really well done.
This one definitely follows a pattern of part 2, like a quick 90 minutes, and it gets to the point, it knows what it is, so
Yeah.
I adore that about it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get into our recommendations section before we start spoiling things. Do you want to kick us off
Yep.
and go first real quick?
For sure. So, guys, I have a very special relationship with Final Destination 3. Just rewatching this OG trilogy has been so special to me, and it reminds me why I love this franchise so much. But this is the first Final Destination I saw in theaters, and I have very nostalgic, fond memories of it. I mean, obviously, you guys have known throughout this podcast that I was not censored at all as a kid. But I believe the first R-rated movie I went to see in the theater, the R-rated horror movie my parents took me to, was Freddy vs. Jason in 2003. And then ever since then, they were like taking me to the movies to see these things as well. But Final Destination 6 is the first R-rated horror movie that my mom snuck me into. So it's a very cool memory. I believe that she took my sister and her friends to see like Big Mama's House too, but I'm like the crazy person who like made sure she bought a ticket Final Destination 3 so the movie can get box office, and she snuck me in, then she went to go see the movie with them. So I actually saw Final Destination 3 by myself in the theater. The first time I went to see a movie by myself, technically my mom snuck me in, and oh god, I had a fucking blast with this movie. This movie is so special to me. As someone who likes amusement park rides and roller coasters, the opening I vibe with so much. It's just super fun. I think it really does follow in line with Final Destination 2, where it has the fun campiness, but it also has those creepy, eerie, suspenseful moments too. It doesn't jump the shark or anything. It's a good blend of both. I can't say enough about Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She is so fucking awesome in this movie. I'm bummed that it doesn't have. It kind of mentions Final Destination, the first one, a couple times, but it doesn't have the direct through line like Final Destination 2 had. But other than that, this is just a fucking campy, fun blast that doesn't go camp to the point of like Final Destination 4 goes to. It's just a good blend of everything, and I just remember having a hoot and a big smile on my little, what was I, like 14-year-old face watching it the first time in the theater. This was a blast. There's shocking death scenes. There's funny death scenes. It's the perfect blend of everything that makes Final Destination, so I absolutely 100% adore this movie.
Okay, yeah. I agree with a lot of what you said. I really adore this movie as well. I don't remember the first time I watched it. I don't have any like specific memory like you have. That's pretty cool to hear that though.
Yeah.
So this movie definitely holds a special place in your nostalgic heart for sure. But I do have fond memories watching this in high school and watching this over and over. I do think this movie is extremely rewatchable. Like you said, mainly because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is just such a treat to watch on screen. She gives it her all. I think this movie really benefited from having James Wong come back. I think his touch is all over this movie and connecting it to the first. I know you said they don't mention the first movie and they don't have a through line, but I think that's okay because it's felt in a lot of what this movie represents. And I want to get more into that when we when we do a deep dive into the movie, but there is a lot of similarities to 1. The tone is definitely similar to 2, but I like how it connects to 1 too. And again, I think that is because we have the same director that coming back for 3. Yeah, the build up to all of these kills is, I think, the best in the first 3, at least, since we haven't covered 4 yet. The tension buildup is just insane for all of these kills. There's something about them that just gets you on the edge of your seat. And then it's fun at the same time. Once the kills happen, it goes there. It's very bloody. It's very gory. It shows everything. I think it's a good balance of going there, but then keeping it, tense. Right. And like you said, it doesn't jump the shark. So I do appreciate that. This is just a fun time. This is when I think of Final Destination, like the franchise, this is the movie I think of instantly. Because this kind of blends everything that's great about the first 3 movies, and it just puts it into 1, or the first 2 movies, and it just makes a spectacle. And I wouldn't have been mad if it ended with 3. I like 4 and I like 5, but this is such a solid trilogy, like you said, that it would have been okay if they kind of finished it. But I'm glad we got 4 and 5 because now we got a little saga going. We got 6 coming out, so I got high hopes for 6. We'll see about that. But yeah, this is definitely a recommend for me. I can't wait to dive into this and kind of talk about what I like about this film. But this is definitely going to be up there on my rankings for sure. It's a really solid entry.
Yeah, it's like hard not to, because I don't want to spoil our rankings, but I mean, there's this OG trilogy is just, it's pretty top notch. So not to give anything away, but it's like the OG trilogy and then the other two. And it's just the pinnacle of it's 2006, so we're like in the pinnacle of like 2000s horror with this one. And I like the contrast of James Wan, what he did with the first one, and then this one, like you said. I feel like he's like, I'm gonna keep the formula, but I'm just gonna have fucking fun. Like he took part 1, what he did, and then he watched part 2 and was like, okay, I know what we are now. I'm just gonna go for it and have fun. And the blend is really good, which is why I think this one's special.
Yeah,
fun time.
He had fun with this, and he almost used part 1 as like a leapfrog. It's like, all right, I'm gonna create the world in part 1. I'm gonna create our original survivors and stuff, and then now that we're in part 3, now I'm just gonna have fun in this world that I created. And you know, it's very apparent that he had a good time with this, but he still crafted a really solid, well done, movie. Would you consider these slasher movies? You would not, just kind of supernatural?
Sometimes I like, even like I was just talking, maybe? I just said like I almost said like Mary Elizabeth Winstead was in 2 slasher movies in 2006. So sometimes I do say like, I kind of say like death is the slasher killer, but it's not, but it has the kill. It's a good blend. That's why I think it's special, because it's slasher, but it's supernatural. So it's like a supernatural slasher.
It does have that vibe. Yeah. I wouldn't technically consider them slasher films, but it does have that vibe. I mean, because it is all about the kills, and you're just waiting for the next person to die. And death does act like a villain in a sense, a pseudo villain. So yeah, I definitely see that for sure.
No, I agree 100%, and that's why I think I love especially the first 3 so much, because they kind of do act like you can watch them as these freak accident movies, but it's like, oh, there's like a slasher killer after them. Whereas like, once you get to 4, it gets a little like, kooky, so it's like a little, overboard. But the first 3 really feel like it can be that, nice blend.
Well, and again, I'm glad they did not go back to, I know we talked about, and again, watch the first episode, guys, on the original Final Destination. I thought that was a good discussion, but I talked about how I didn't love the physical manifestation of the death or killer, or what death itself as a force. I'm glad James Wan kind of ditched that this time, because he could have easily went back to that and made it like this shadowy figure again. I'm glad that he stuck to like, the lights flickering and other signs for our main to kind of look for. I love the picture aspect.
Me too.
The camera and how she's able to kind of put the puzzle pieces together and try to figure out how these kills are going to happen based on the photos that she took. I thought that was really clever, and I thought that was a cool wrinkle. I think this might be my favorite opening.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
I was debating last time you asked me, but this, I always forget, because it's been a couple years. I definitely watched this one the most. I think this is the most rewatchable. Not to give away rankings, but and that doesn't necessarily mean
you're right.
It's number 1 for me, because I do factor that in, but that's not the end all be all. So we'll try to keep you guessing on that. But I think watch this the most. I'm always, for some reason, I've seen this movie so many times, I always forget how like visceral this opening is on the roller coaster, and how just gory it is, and on the edge of the seat you are, and it's like you're holding your breath because you're on that coaster with them. It's so well done. And this is the right away, as we talk about this opening, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, how it feels very Final Destination 1. The roller coaster scene is very reminiscent of the airplane scene, because in a sense, when you get on a roller coaster and it goes up that hill, there's no going back. Same thing with an airplane. Once the airplane takes off, you're in it. So that like finality of it, of like, point of no return, if you will, I think is really clever. And it was a brilliant move to go to an amusement park and a roller coaster for number 3. I thought this was just awesome, because again, everyone loves roller coasters, and but at the same time, everyone usually is scared of roller coasters, and unless you get like the freaks like me who just enjoy them. But
Me too.
yeah, I thought this was really brilliant, and it was executed awesome. I love the visuals. I love the way the roller coaster looks. How it's like an old janky roller coaster, but it's built.
Dude,
up
it
like
reminds
this
me of
ultimate-
remember Scream Machine from Great
I
Adventure.
do.
It reminds me of
I
fucking
do.
Scream Machine.
I actually said that to my wife. It reminded me of Scream Machine because it's the same style track. And she's like, "Did you ever ride that?" I was like, "Yes, I did ride that. Unfortunately, I rode that ride. That guys, if you don't live in
Yeah,
our
that's,
area,
but
there's there was a roller coaster, a now dismantled roller coaster at our local Six Flags that this coaster reminds you of. And if you've been riding coasters for a while, you'd probably recognize this style of roller coaster because it's very reminiscent of early 2000s kind of like mega coasters. But yeah, this is a great time, this opening. What did you think of this opening? How do you I don't not how do you rank it, but you know, is it up there for you?
So first, going back to what you said about the photos, I do agree. I think much like part 2, I think that this, like, they kind of spice it up in every installment. I like that in part 2 they had, like, you know, new life defeats death, and they also had Kimberly kind of do her like pseudo premonitions, her visions, and I think that this was a cool step to like differentiate it even more and have Mary Elizabeth Winston's character Wendy, she sees the photos, you can kind of like hint at what the death's going to be from the photos. So I like how they kept that trend going, but they differentiate enough. It kind of like is like loosey-goosey with the rules, these different sequels, but I'm fine with it because it keeps it fresh. As far as the opening goes, I have a blast with it. I do think that as in terms of like realism and fear, I'm not giving anything away, but the first two like strike a chord with me more just because I feel like they play off in more like a real scenario, whereas this one is more having fun, like bloody stupid fun. But that's why I think I kind of fucking love this one, because it's just a blast and it's just crazy what happens once again on the roller coaster. Like you said, once they really play off like once you're in the seat and once you're like, you know, ayo, we're good for takeoff, it's like you're kind of out of control and it's just whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I think the suspense building, especially going up, you know, the hill before they do the drop, I think that's played out very well, especially people who go on roller coasters. You get the, you know, your anxiety's building up when you go up the hill. So I think they really play with that very well. So I would say this one might be the most fun of the original trilogy, but it doesn't like scare me as much as the other two. But I have a fucking blast with the opening. I think the whole cast, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the director, everyone plays this up like it's top notch the way they play it up. Yeah. It's an amusement park ride. Like, it's literally an amusement. This opening it's fun.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, how it's just all about the fun. I do think it is realistic still, though. I mean, we see these viral videos online of like these carnival rides that are not maintained properly and malfunction. So it didn't go like too crazy with like 100 different things happening all at once, and that's why the ride kind of broke down. It was like a couple key things that happened that was the difference between life and death. So I think they did still kind of tried to make it as realistic as possible while having the most fun as possible. So I do think it rode that line pretty well.
Yeah, it just also sets the stage because some of the bloody outbursts and deaths in this movie like definitely fall in line with just fun, and like it's like very jolting deaths. I feel like in this one they're not as I don't know, I feel like the first one especially has more play, like it builds it up. This one, it's just like, whoa, in your face, boom, blood splatter, fun. So I like that a lot. About the opening sets the stage for that.
Yeah, the kills themselves are definitely in your face, but I like the build up to a lot of these kills. I think, again, I think it has the most tension out of the first three in terms of build up, consistent build up in all the kills. Because there are some highlights in the first and second one, but in terms of consistency, all of these set pieces are really well done and are really suspension filled. So yeah, we get the scene. I thought this was an interesting wrinkle how Kevin, the character Kevin, is the one that introduces Flight 180 to Wendy. Yep. Usually it's the main who kind of is paranoid after the accident, but Wendy just wants to move on. She doesn't want to go to graduation. And we also didn't touch on that. We're back in high school. We get the back.
Yes.
This was another thing that, you know, I'm sure James Wong wanted to do, is go back to his high school characters. And I like that. I like how we're back with high schoolers. It definitely makes the tragedy more impactful on the roller coaster because they knew all of the students and everything. And it's kind of like this town mourning and stuff. So I think that was a good call to do that. I like how 2 is so different than 1 and 3, so I do appreciate 2, but I do like how they kind of went back in with 3. How did you feel about that? Like how they're back in high school and they kind of knew all of the people who died.
Yeah, no, like I said, I really love 2 because it kind of like takes a step out of that, typical high school horror zone, and it has them like strangers having to survive together. But I'm fine with 3 going back to the formula because, like you said, we took a break with 2, and I feel like when you're going to the amusement park and all the like the friends, I feel like it almost lends itself to its credit to have them know each other in this one and having them kind of like fight together, and like they're not all friends, but they're all classmates. So I think that also puts like a unique spin on it. I think it helps it a lot, and I mean, just Wendy as being the head. I like what you said that in this one she's not figuring out like Alex, like, this and that, like Kimberly too. She almost has what's his name again, Kevin. He goes to her and she's like dismissive at first. She's like, I don't want any part of this. She's like handling the grief in a different way. It's not like she's not assuming that it's all connected right away. It takes, until she starts seeing the pictures and stuff, and then when you get to the tanning salon, like, oh shit, I am involved in this, and I am the one who's like the leader of this. So I like that they changed it up a bit. It's just it's I think this one finally like realized like we're cheesy fun and we're going with it, and I think it plays with it really well to the point where it can be serious but also be like campy without trying to be campy. And we'll definitely get into an example of that when we get to the tanning salon, one of the best transitions in the history of film.
I also think what differentiates this movie from the first 2 is the fact that we don't get a group effort at any point. It's literally just Wendy and Kevin trying to figure this out. All of the other side characters either die before they can get to him, or they don't believe them and they're just kind of on their own and they do a quick death. I mean, you get like, a little bit at the end, her sister Julie is kind of on board, and, you get that at the very end of the movie. But for most of the movie, it's just our 2 mains trying to figure this out and save people, which I think is different. I think it works though, because it allows these side characters to kind of have their time to shine with their set pieces, if that makes sense, because they're not sprinkled in the rest of the movie. It's like, okay, now it's this person's time to die. So, I think about the warehouse scene and the couple from the warehouse scene, Ian and I forget Ian and Aaron.
Mm.
That warehouse scene is very memorable because it's such a longer scene and they're trying to plead with these people.
So
but
good.
They never really get on board, but they have their time, their screen time. And I think that's what makes these set pieces so tension filled and so memorable. So yeah, I like how they kind of differentiate it, and they kind of just, like you said, they're having fun. So they just kind of streamlined everything. It's like, all right, we're just going to stick with these 2 characters. They both lost their significant other, so they're dealing with a lot of trauma, and we're just going to kind of play that out because we don't have time to kind of get the whole group together like we did the first time. Right. We're just going to kind of focus on the kills more and the set pieces more. And I think that's a good formula for this franchise.
I also like how Wendy and Kevin, they're not like boyfriend and girlfriend. Their only reason they know each other is because of their significant others.
Yeah.
So that isn't also an interesting kind of relationship, especially in the beginning where they're kind of like, they just fall into that role of being together. Yeah. They're not like meant to be together. I think that was a smart writing choice as well.
I'm glad they didn't fall into the pitfall of like, kindling a relationship by the end. They didn't have time for that. I'm glad that they just stuck to.
They're like good platonic friends by the end. Yeah.
Exactly. I do think it's funny how insanely different Kevin's character is from the opening to the rest of the movie. Like in the opening, he's like the asshole, a scumbag. Typical. Yeah, he's an asshole. And then all of a sudden he's like this empathetic, guy who's trying to be there for Wendy, and he's trying to help. He went
through a traumatic experience, man.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? He's talking about how he wanted to marry, what's her name? Her friend.
Oh, and she was going to dump him, which I thought was a cool
that was funny. But it's like, you're going to marry this girl, but you were taking like upskirt pics, and you were being like a sleazeball. It's like, what the hell, dude? Come on. Let's be real here.
No, I do really like Ryan Merriman as well. He's also like kind of in a bunch of like 2000 stuff. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
I also like how, although Tony Todd's not in this movie, which, that is a ding on it, just because Tony fucking Todd, he is the voice of the devil on the roller coasters, so you do get a voice cameo, at least from him.
He's also in the PA announcer for the train at the end, yeah. So that's pretty
he's
cool.
in the opening and the ending, so he was there in spirit.
Yeah, kind of weird that they brought him for the voice acting, but they
Yeah, I
couldn't
wonder
fit
why.
him in the they couldn't fit him in the movie itself. So
Because
that
it's
is a
something
bummer.
iconic when when you just see him, like in the first two
Yeah.
especially. It's like, oh, it's so fucking good. But I'm happy because I knew that when I saw it in theaters, I'm like, oh, that's his voice right away. I knew it the first time
Yeah.
on the roller coaster. It's fun.
So then we get we just get to the tanning bed scene. Another talk about you're right. This franchise is littered with kill sequences that people always talk about, and this is, I think, up there in terms
Oh, yeah.
of viral scenes where people after this movie came out were talking about this, like, oh, I'm never going tanning again, and all this.
That
shit.
was
It's like, oh
very
my God,
big when
it's
this came
big.
out.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So why don't you run us through this scene and what you like and don't like about it?
What do you? So this is just like such an iconic sequence in the franchise. This tanning bed scene. I mean, both actresses again. Crystal Close. She had a little horror movie. She was in the Black Christmas remake with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She was in Wrong Turn 2. So it's fun to see these,
Okay.
these little like horror queens of the 2000s in this. But I absolutely adore. I think first of all, these two actresses, they know what role they're playing and they play it up so well. It's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like they come off as like you should hate them, but like they're so annoying, but you still like love them and like care about them. So I think that's really a credit to how they work together, because in any other movie they'd be like, I can't wait to see these go, but it's like they're so annoying in the movie, but I'm like, I kind of vibe with them and they're fun.
Yeah.
And I like them a lot. So
Yeah, they're
Credit to them.
harmless.
Exactly.
They're harmless. They're not like the typical popular girls that are bitches. They're just kind of
Yeah.
ditzy and harmless. I love the line that I believe Ashley says. I know it's Ashley and Ashlyn. I think it's the blonde.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
we got to look good for graduation for all the people that died.
I
I'm
know,
like,
it's
oh
so
my God.
funny. Well, even when they are good enough to even go to Wendy, like I know she's like dealing with her shit, but they do
Yeah.
invite her to go tanning. So it's not
Yeah.
like they're not the typical like bitchy girls that don't talk to us. I just love
Yeah.
after they invite her that she was like, that was so nice of us. I'm like, just die. She just says it right in front of her. But I don't know. There's something charming about them, and I like how this movie does. Like they could have been like the ones we want
Yes.
to discard right away, but this one kind of they're kind of like lovable disses and lovable bitchy girls, but they're not full bitches. So I kind of really I vibe with that, and I thought that was really nice and sweet. And I do feel bad because they're just trying to vibe and, like you said, look good for graduation. This horrible drawn out death sequence happens to them.
gosh. Again, it's like if you haven't watched this movie, all you listeners out there in a while, I implore you to go back because some of these kills are really extended, and this one especially.
This one's the
You
most
feel
yeah.
their pain. I mean, talk
Mhm.
about Scream Queens. They really sell it in this scene where they're getting burned alive in these tanning beds. Holy shit!
Their screams are so good.
Yes, so good.
But I do like the buildup of this one where, it's like, you see the signs like, don't let it get above this whatever number. And then they're just like, oh, it's getting hot in here. And it's just like, oh no, girls, it's coming. And then they would try to open it and they get trapped in.
Ugh.
And it's a very, very good buildup. And I just do feel sad because they don't just catch on fire right away. Like there's a slit in the tanning booth
Yeah.
and like they get cut and there's bleeding. And then it's just these poor girls are just trapped. And I don't know
They're
about you, but
cooked.
like I'm also claustrophobic. So like this one really just gets to me a lot. And like you said, just the way they're just dying together and just screaming, it's a rough one. It's a rough one, but it's also fun and campy at the same time. It's just hard to do that in a movie, and I feel like this one succeeds in that. And do the transition of their tanning booths caught on fire to their coffins all bedazzled. I almost fell out of the fucking theater seat.
Yeah.
That's how you do camp without like trying to do camp. It's so natural, and I fucking howl. Every time.
It's a transition
Every
straight out of
time.
the Saw franchise. It's
It's
definitely
so
iconic. It's so funny.
Good. I just like bravo. I like do bravo every time that happens.
Yeah, but I like what you said, how it's camp, but it's very easy for movies that are trying to be camp to just
Exactly.
go overboard to where you're just laughing at the kills and you're not really, you don't really feel anything for the characters because it's just a fun movie where you're laughing along with whatever's happening to them. But in this, you're laughing at the situation because it's ridiculous maybe after the fact, but during the scene, it's like you really feel for these girls. You're like, oh my God, this is
Right.
terrible. This is like a really bad way to go. So I think that's what makes this movie so special because it's so campy, but in the moment, you're totally hooked. At least I am. I'm like, holy shit, this
Agreed.
is insane. Yeah.
Well, like that you said that, I feel like during the sequence you're like uneasy and you're on edge, and then it's not till after it's over you're like, oh, this is like silly fun.
Yeah.
But that's very hard to accomplish that because of movies that are trying to be campy and ridiculous, you never feel that. It's like, all right, they're trying a little too hard, which is again, we'll get into part four. They're trying in part four. You can tell they're trying. This one, they may be trying, but you can't tell. It's just very natural, and you're laughing at the uneasiness, and you're like, oh, this is silly fun, but it's also like, this is fucked up. And I feel like a lot of movies don't know how to, have that balance of doing both.
Mhm.
And this one, specifically that sequence, does it pretty perfectly.
Yeah. I agree.
And then we're just off to the races. I mean, Wendy and Kevin, pretty much the whole rest of the movie, they're trying to save the rest of these people. And I just love, again, I cannot state enough how much I love the pace of part 2 and part 3 so much, because you do connect with I connected with Kimberly, and you still had Ali Lardy, so clear in the second one, but I connect with Wendy and Kevin in this one as well. So I don't feel like I'm cheated from character development either, but I'm also like, yeah, let's get through it. Let's get going. So I think that's also a very, 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 very credit to the director and just the actors and the writing. It's very smart.
Not much was needed because the
Mhm.
opening was so traumatic for our characters. They both lost their boyfriend and girlfriend, that we instantly connect with their pain, because we've all experienced pain. We've all lost people that were close to us. So that was enough for us to hook us into. And again, it's credit to Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I mean, she just
so
hooks
good.
you from the opening scene, at least me personally. So
Me
part
too.
of it is the actors themselves. But yeah, not much is needed because we are in it with them from the get-go because of what happened, and it's so intimate. And the fact that her boyfriend was trying to get off and he couldn't get off the
Ugh.
train and they wouldn't let him off. I mean, it's so heartbreaking. She talks about survivor's guilt and how she just feels guilty for his death. It's, oh man, that's so heartbreaking. So yeah, I agree with you. We're in it with these characters almost right off the bat, which I feel like doesn't really happen in the first two, especially in the first one with Alex. It takes a little bit for you to kind of get into the groove with him and kind of, I hate to say it, but really care about him. And I think with this movie, you instantly connect with these characters, especially our lead, our final girl. She's really infectious. So yeah.
Yeah, these three leads for the first three movies stand out because they all have their own personality. You're not just like, oh, okay, it's another lead of a Final Destination movie. I feel like all three of them specifically are unique, and they really stand out, and they bring their A game. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's just fucking on fire. Again, this was the first thing I saw her, and I was like immediately like, okay, I'm gonna follow her career. So I'm very happy. And then we just pretty much go to the next. They Kara and Kevin do their little investigating. Then we go right to the drive-through after the funeral of the two girls, and we get the scumbag. I love this death because we know because we're seasoned horror fans, but the audience doesn't know it's Frankie until after he gets killed, until they see the necklace on the ground. I do like the way it played out. It's not like we're following him. We're reviewing this death through the eyes of Wendy and Kevin, which I also think is a very cool thing to do, and it differentiates it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does too, and I think we know the order, right? So we know that Wendy's not up next and Kevin's not up next, but we're still trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and we're trying to figure it out with the characters. So they're trying to look for clues and stuff, and she sees the runaway truck coming down the street. Another claustrophobic scene where they get pinned. So they really play on claustrophobia. Yeah.
It's very well done. I love the song. There's someone walking behind you that plays throughout this movie, which again is great for a horror movie. And I think it's just fucking hilarious that the engine just fucking comes out of the car and just slices the back of his head off. It's so fucking good. That was a one where after the death, there's a little jump scare where it fucking pops his head off again. I remember in the theater, everyone had a good scream from that one. So this is a very good Final Destination movie for a communal experience. I adore that death scene.
I would say this is the most camp with the most levity. I think this sequence because
especially because of the character who
this
goes
is a scene where if you're in theaters, people are just hooting and hollering and just watch out, get the fuck out. So yeah, this is definitely the one that's definitely the most all right, you're having fun, and the character you don't really care for. He's like a sleazeball character. I know he has a couple funny lines, especially at the memorial. He's like, he blames himself for their death. He's like, if they didn't have to look so good all the time, and,
Yeah,
they
if I
felt
wasn't
pressured.
objectifying them, it would be good. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous,
this
but I love
movie's
it.
just fun. Yeah.
And that's what we need. I love that like fun horror movies are coming back, and I love that Final Destination's coming back. So this is why. I mean, again, we're in 2006. This is prime time for us.
Yeah. So what is the next? So after this death, where do we go? What's the next set piece? What's the next? They do some more investigating.
Yeah, they literally they really solidify the whole picture thing, and she brings
Yeah.
Kevin in on it, and she's like, I don't want to see my picture yet. She's like, we're gonna have to, and you have a whole like little funny exchange there that like I'm nervous about that, and then we go. They realize that Lewis, the football bodybuilder jock dude
Lewis.
is next, so we go to
Yeah.
his death scene, which is also I remember that played fucking like aces in the theater because. You think one thing's gonna happen, and then 2 seconds later, he actually goes. So this one fucking also had me howling, and it's very smart because in the gym, you have people grunting and doing their thing. So they play up with that so well. It's like, oh, the radio's gonna fall and it's gonna catch on, get electrocuted. No, there's people like working out like crazy. Something's gonna happen, and then it's just that one quick jolt at the end that actually gets. And so I actually think this one really builds up the suspense and the fun very well.
This one is, I think, James Wong's tribute to Final Destination 2. This kill feels like it's straight out of Final Destination 2 with all the fake outs and everything and the ridiculousness of it. And how it fakes you out, and then at the end it just gets him so quickly. This feels definitely like it belongs in that movie, but I love this scene so much. This sequence is just, it starts building and building, and you're just sitting there. My smile is just growing and growing, and my smile's getting bigger as the scene goes on. Because something's about to crash, and when it finally does, it's so
literally fun. A splatter fest. This scene, this step, it's so fucking good. And the way he's saying, you can't get me, Death. I always win. And then it's like, ah, and then he just gets smashed. I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And it also calls back to Final Destination 1 because they get the blood splatter on their face, just like when Terry gets splattered by the bus. It's very reminiscent of that as well. So good throwback.
Yeah, for sure. This was definitely, I feel like, a throwback sequence. And so these were like the two kills back to back of characters that really didn't have any redeeming qualities. I mean, you have the asshole jock, who we really didn't get to know at all. He's even an asshole on the roller coaster. He's like, what the fuck? He's a douchebag. And then you have the other douchebag that gets got by the car engine. So these are kind of the two kills in the middle of the movie that are just kind of just, all right, let's have some fun with these characters and let the audience like really like enjoy themselves, and then we're going to get back to like these longer sequences because then the next kill sequence is
that's so good. Oh
one
God.
of my faves as
Me
well
too.
in the whole franchise. Yeah, Aaron's death. It's particular because it has the layers to it because they're pleading with these characters, and you have Aaron and especially Ian kind of making fun of them, and he's making fun of them, but he's also trying to like give them the time of day, and he's like, all right, hypothetically, if this happened, like. So what does this mean? So he's like kind of toying with them, but he's also like trying to work it out with them and trying to show them how ridiculous it is, if that makes sense. Because he's not
100% dismissive at all. Like the jock or he's entertaining them. You can tell in his head he's like, I'm gonna listen and take note because this might be real, but also like I don't want to admit it's real. So there's a playfulness to it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's also playful because you're in a hardware store, like you're in like a Home Depot type store, so there's so much that can go wrong. And the build up there is very, very good. Like you said, the fake outs, it's like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? You even have Wendy like, look at that, look at this. And then when it does happen, it's just so fucking gnarly and good. And I remember, this is the one where I remember for the first, I gasped when her death scene actually did happen. I'm like, holy shit, they went for it with this one.
Yeah, it's very unexpected. I didn't expect her to die that way with all the moving things with the forklift going AWOL, and I thought for sure one of them was going to get crushed or something. So the fact that she just dies from a nail gun is very unexpected, but it definitely got me as well. I was like, oh my gosh, that's insane.
Well, and it's cool because Wendy saves Ian right away, and you're like, okay, how much time do we have before the next one? It's like, nope, we have no time. It's going right there.
She saves Ian, but you don't even know. At least my brain's always working in these movies. So in the moment, we don't know if it was because they even say we don't know if Ian or Aaron is next. Eren could have been
Right.
next the whole time, and that was just Death's design to get Eren to die. So we don't even know concretely that she saves Ian. They kind of just play it off that we're expected to know that, and they don't really. I mean, Ian, it skips Ian, but yeah, like in the moment, we don't even know because so Ian could still be on the chopping block next. It turns out he wasn't, but yeah, I like how they played with us and toyed with us with that.
Well, it adds to the suspense as well, so you don't like 100% know which one's gonna go or how it's gonna play out. So I think that also like we keep saying this one's fun, but I think this sequence is also pretty creepy and suspenseful at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then after that, pretty much Ian's in a downward spiral, so he really does play a huge part in the finale. And we're also trying to figure out who are these two obscured pictures that they can't tell who's also on the roller coaster. So obviously, horror movie 101, we do realize that, it is going to be Wendy's sister. So I also like the way that plays out when she realizes, it's Wendy's sister. She has to go to like the whole fair and all that. I like the way the build up to the finale plays up. It's very quick, but it happens, I feel like, in a very logical and suspenseful manner when she does have, the horror movie realization, like, oh my god, it's my sister, I have to go save her. And I do like how her and Kevin really, like you said, they're not romantic, but there's like innocent flirting, but I really like by the end, you can tell they're really looking out for each other and they're really good friends. So you care about them both a lot by the end.
Yeah, no, I agree. For sure. And I think this is as we get into the climax, I think this is a pretty cool set piece. This tricentennial fair, you have Paul Revere with the horse, everything. Yep. We'll get into the horse, but yeah. So you find out that her sister Julie was on the roller coaster. She's up next. She obviously can't get a hold of her, so Kevin, who's already at the tricentennial fair, is going to look out for her. So I think that was a smart way to get him to stay, because once they figure out that things could go south very quickly, he decides, like, maybe you should look at those photos now.
Yes, I love that part, by the way.
Yeah, so we can figure out what's going on. So she sees that he's kind of blinded by something, so she knows that it's something to do with fire or fireworks. I think he says, I think I know. He
literally says, like, oh, like a firework blip on my face. She's like, I'm like, oh, I do like that. I'm like, because then the whole time you're like waiting.
You would say, like, okay, this guy should leave, right? I mean, fuck that security job. But no, he promised that he would look out for her sister, Julie. Right. So he's going to stay to look out for her, which I think was really smart. And it kind of shows what kind of character he is.
I agree 100%. I love that we got that tidbit of info, because the whole time you're kind of like on the edge of your seat waiting for the fireworks to go off or waiting for something to like explode in his face. And the way it plays out is very smart. And fuck those assholes who like screw with that horse. Pieces of shit kids. I hate them so much. I think they should.
Well, why would the fuck? Yeah, I know. Fuck whoever left the horse there in the middle of the field during the fireworks.
Like with the noises.
Yeah, like put him back in its trailer.
Talk about never split up. Like, Jesus.
I know.
That's a bad moment.
And it was like one little, like, 4-inch stake in the ground. I mean, that horse could have taken off at any moment.
There are so many lawsuits could happen from the finale of this movie, I feel like. But I do think that, like, for some of the later installments, I think this finale is more in line with the first two, where, we kind of wanted more from part one. And then part two had the big explosion. I feel like this one has a good blend of both, where like it's very satisfying.
I agree. You have, again, similar to one, you have our two leads are split up. So our lead is trying to make it back to get back together and save the day, similar to one. But you also have that big set piece that's bigger than one. It kind of resembles two in a way, especially when they're trying to save Julie, the sister. Kind of how Clear is trying to save everyone in the hospital. So yeah, I mean, they don't have a plan like number two. Number two was very hyper focused on trying to defeat this thing. They didn't get that far in this movie, and again, I like how they don't. What's the word? I like how this franchise isn't linear in the fact that every sequel that comes later, the characters get closer to defeating death, and they get more smart. If that makes sense. I like how we almost took a step back in this movie, and while they were like really close or maybe even defeated death in the second one, this new sequel, they didn't even really come close, we'll see at the end. So I kind of like that it keeps you on your toes,
Yeah. I would say this whole finale keeps you on your toes to the point where I hate the animal stuff, but I fucking love how Julie she just gets the rope around, and she's literally they're running after her, and she's getting dragged and choked by the horse, and it's coming to the point where she's almost gonna be like, I don't even know what the fuck she's almost gets like slashed with, but it's like they're literally racing, against time. And I feel like the end of this movie, I'm actually like, on the edge of my seat and tapping my feet, like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Where I don't feel that as much with some of the other ones. Even the first two, I love them so much, but this one, you're actively involved just as much as Wendy.
Yeah.
The audience is just as much involved, so it's so well done. And I just love how, it's her and her friend, and Kevin saves Julie, and then it's like, who's next? Who is sitting next to you? And then her friend just stands up like, oh, fuck, that's me. And it just, boom, the pull right through the chest. I'm like, fuck yeah, we're getting to it. I love how, fast and just fucking, over the top and ridiculous this gets at certain points.
You're right. You really are in it in this finale. And even when Julie's friend died, I don't even know her name. I'd have to look on Google. She's not in the movie at all. I mean, we don't see her until this scene. So normally it would just be like a nothing kill, and it's like a fun kill. But because you've been following Wendy and Kevin this entire movie, you feel their trauma. Right. So when they see someone else get impaled in front of them, it's very impactful. Even though we didn't know the victim, we know our main characters, and that, holy shit, this is fucking insane. We need to get these guys to safety. So yeah, this movie does such a good job of making you care about these characters. Because it doesn't have a lot of more. We talked about the first two movies, maybe how I would have liked to see the characters more fleshed out so I could care about them more. This movie doesn't have that, but we still care about them, I think, more than the first two. I'm just going to say, I love Clear, especially in Final Destination 2, and I was definitely rooting for her, but this movie does it so effortlessly and so naturally that it's really a kudos to the filmmakers in this movie, because I don't know how they pulled it off. It's that's a secret recipe. I don't know if it was the performances or the script was just brilliant, but we really are on the edge of our seat, waiting for these guys to try to make it out to safety.
And also to just Mary Elizabeth Winstead, her reaction shots to death, her it's a lot of it is her her face. She's I'm like, yeah, girl, I feel you. I feel like the way she reacts to all these deaths, it's so relatable. So a lot of it I feel is our leading lady mixed with the directing, and they're in their 100% in their groove by the time they get to part 3, but they really got the secret sauce with her in this movie. And how do you feel about Ian going supervillain mode for the last, pretty much going after Wendy, wanting to kill her in the last final moments?
I didn't feel that from Ian. You think he was trying to kill her? I don't
not
think
kill her,
that
but he was definitely waiting for her to all right.
He was definitely blaming her for Erin's death. I think he just knew that she was on this crusade to try to save these people, and I think in his warped sense of mind, her being paranoid is what's causing all of these deaths, and that she's responsible. So I think that's why he's tailing her. Yeah. And because he puts the pieces together, so he's in the field and he catches up to them, and he sees their faces, and he's like, wait a minute, am I responsible for your death? So
I love that line.
Yeah, I love that line too. And right there, I mean, us horror nerds know, this guy's about to die. But, I think it's a great climax with his character, because he is definitely kind of a, wild card this whole movie. And, he was tailing her for a while. We didn't really talk about that. He was tailing her for a couple scenes. So we kind of wasn't quite sure, was he going to come with a gun, and was he going to try to, kill her?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
No, I think he wasn't at all. I think he was just trying to figure out what this girl's deal was and why she kept causing destruction everywhere she went.
I feel like if it went on any longer, I would have been all right, it's too much, but I feel like they did it just enough. I didn't need a whole chase scene between Ian and Wendy that. I didn't want that. We do get something like that in Final Destination 5, but I am happy the way it played out. And she's just stay away and I'll be fine. And he's I caused your death. So it's kind of, he's taunting her, but he's not attacking her at the same time. And I think it plays out very well.
I think it's very smart because it keeps death at the focus as the main villain. I don't want a secondary villain.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't need a cheap, knockoff, pseudo slasher. I want death. Death is the big bad. So I want it to be that. And I think that they did it for a minute or two. I'm all right, please don't jump the shark. And they didn't. He just gets fucking smashed in Final Destination 3. fashion, which is awesome. His death scene.
Yeah, so this death scene, this was supposed to be Wendy's,
Yes.
correct? So
Yes, she's the last one.
By Ian kind of stalking Wendy and confronting them, he stood where Wendy was supposed to be standing, right? Is that
Yeah,
how
well, isn't there also, was there another firework that went off and they all kind of like jumped to the
They
ground or
ducked.
something mistake? Yeah, they
Yeah.
ducked. So that kind of, I feel like that happened first, and that kind of, whether it was Kevin or her sister, they kind of like that saved Wendy technically, and then it went back to Ian. So that's what I feel like.
Because in the
really
photo
happened.
it says McKinley.
Yes.
So I think she assumed that she was supposed to die from the sign that says McKinley that ends up killing
Yeah, or
Ian.
that, or she like he was supposed to cause it somehow. That's with her,
Yeah.
like, you know, that's. But I think like once she ducked from the firework, it went back obvious to Ian. So I thought it was fine. I thought it wasn't the like the high of the ending, but we're not done
No.
yet. And this is the first Final Destination movie that has two premonitions, full
A full
premonitions in a
wraparound,
movie,
yeah.
which is fucking awesome. And this was, by the way, a reshoot because I guess the original ending, I don't know exactly how it was gonna end, if it was just there, it didn't test well. So they literally filmed this like fucking weeks before the movie came out, which is so fucking impressive.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love this ending.
Oh, me too. It's so
This
dark.
is-
And like you
yeah.
said, it's fun, but this is a fucking dark ending.
Yeah, it is.
It's so dark.
It's
Fucking love
dark,
it.
but it's fun because you're just sitting there like, oh man, are you kidding me? Here we go again.
Well, and it's so smart the way it plays out. Like she's with her, whatever. I don't know if she's wherever. She's with her roommates or whatever on the train. Then she sees her sister. And then it's like, oh, Kevin's there too. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Here we go. And then she has the whole premonition. And again, train, it's so smart to have one in a train. I love how it's just like literally like splatterfest, like blood. Like think of like, her sister gets like fucking smashed. Think of like Ready or Not. It's kind of like pretty much like blood explosion everywhere. It's so fun. And then I just love when she comes back to from the premonition, she just looks at her sister and Kevin. And they're like, oh, fuck. And all you do is you see them try to get out quick. And I think it's very smart where it just cuts to black and you hear the commotion
Yeah.
instead of seeing it again. I thought that was such a nice touch. I don't know why that gives me chills every time I watch it.
Yeah.
You just hear the train crashing.
It's really
instead
messed
of
up
seeing
because it
It's
makes
so
you wonder.
good.
So up until this point, I always assumed that the premonitions were kind of defying death, and these people were having premonitions that was pissing death off.
Right.
But now, in the second one, we get death kind of using the premonitions against our main. So, but I still don't know what's causing the premonitions. But in this one, in the ending to this one, it almost feels like death was fucking with our main and gave her that premonition, only gave it to her way too late because she couldn't save everyone because they were already locked on the train.
Right, you can
And
escape
I
that
just
train.
think I think it was just
Well-
so dark and so brutal, but so clever.
I don't know why I'm fucking obsessed with it so much, the cut to black, but I also like how death, like you said, it's taunting her to the point where it's giving her hints like, there's an advertisement for the tanning salon, there's an advertisement
Yeah.
for the amusement, there is
Like
for
they're all with them,
the Home
yeah.
Depot. It's like everyone who died is right there with her, which I
Yeah.
think is extra gnarly and so fucked up. And again, kudos to the trio, like at the end, this Wendy, her sister, and Kevin, the way they realize when they realize they're doomed, it's just a defeat on their face and panic at the same time. I think that's what might make it work for me so much. And then you just cut to black and it's like, God, Wendy, I hope you're alive and you're in a future installment, but there's no way. She's fucking dead. I mean, she's dead.
I love how they're all in on the premonition because they
Mhm.
went through this whole movie together. So as soon as they find out she had another premonition, the
Well-
look on their face is, holy fuck, we're fucked. Yeah.
And it's great that it's with them because it's not like, okay, another group of random people who aren't going to believe her. When she comes to, they're like immediately like, oh, fuck, let's go. I
Mhm.
love that. This is such a good ending. It's
Yeah.
not the goofy. Part 2, I love the goofy, campy, the barbecue. I love the arm. And part 1, I really do love Carter getting smashed. But this one, it's almost like you're panicking with them because you really do want them to get out of this situation.
I
It's like
know.
all of them who were in it. It's not like the protagonist and the other two. They kind of like living or are fine. This one, you're like, oh, Wendy, it's Wendy. Get out. So I think it's so well done. I fucking love this
Yeah, I
ending.
mean, definitely the darkest ending. Everyone dies, which is the first which, believe it or not,
Mhm.
is a first for this franchise. We've always had a survivor from the first 2 movies. So,
Right.
I mean, it cuts
It's
to
mean,
black.
dude.
We don't really know technically maybe because she had the premonition, she could have shielded herself better and not got run over by the train. I don't know. Not broke her leg, but it's implied. They're all goners. Death got what was coming to them, so or they got what death was coming. Whatever. But they're all dead. It's super dark, super dark.
And I think I like that. The fact that it cuts to black lends to the darkness because you don't get the verification to see that they're dead, but you're like, oh, death just like told me without telling me that they're dead. You know what I mean?
Just because it's a premonition doesn't mean it plays out exactly that way. Obviously, that's the point of the franchise,
right?
But it's like,
you're like,
how else are you going to interpret that? So
it's just like, so funny that such a fun Final Destination movie ends with such a gut punch, which is it's so fat. I love it.
This movie blends the two so well.
I know
we talked about 2 and how kind of 2 really came into its own with the franchise and how it has more fun, but this one has that secret sauce, like you said, and it's a good time. It's a really good time.
These first 3, they're so fun because they are a little different from each other. I know 3 and 2 have a lot of similarities, but I just think that the original trilogy is so special because of how unique each one is in their own right.
They're very unique. All the characters are super unique. The feel and the tone. I know like 2 and 3 are campy, but the actual aesthetic tone is so different between the first 3.
Right.
I really think this is a solid trilogy. And maybe
so
if we were to
good.
re-rank our franchises, this might crack my top 10 because these first 3 are really well done. And they're
so
just fun.
good.
They're not like, I'm not putting them in masterpiece range, but it's a solid trilogy, man. It is fucking solid.
But they're like, when you go to
it's going to be hard ranking these, man. I thought I had my ranking, but
I know.
Talking about these with you, I like different things with each movie, and they all do stuff so well. It's going to be really hard.
Dude, as far as like campy, like horror, like they're pretty up there with like the campy horror comedy, like whatever you want to call this subgenre.
Yeah,
it's kind of like doesn't get much better than these first 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was Final Destination 3. That was a lot of fun. It was a fun discussion. Let us know if you had fun listening to us. Before we wrap it up, we're not going to do our scores once again. Right. We'll save that, but we are going to get into our never split up moments. You want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I did run the polls, and I think I came out on top, but I'm going to let you go first because I'm thinking still.
Okay. I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to go with a classic never split up moment.
Oh,
and
I love
that is when Wendy and Kevin split up before the ending. And Wendy goes home and Kevin goes and works security at this fair. It's like, I don't know, man. The beginning of this movie, they were at an amusement park. You're now going to go to like another fair, carnival, and work security. I mean, what are we doing here? I think he even mentions it. He's like, shouldn't we stay together? Or one of them mentions it, like, is it a good idea to split up? And it's just a classic. I mean, it's why we made the name. It's 2 characters at the end of the movie. Nonetheless, it's really just them 2 left. Obviously, they're trying to figure out the other victim, who was her sister, but everyone is dead. Everyone that they know is dead, and you're gonna split up, and she's just gonna go home, and you're just gonna go work a random security job. I don't know. I feel like that was a bad choice.
He doesn't even tell, like, they're on the phone and she's like, he pretty much tells her where he is. And she's like, why? Pretty much her reaction, like, oh shit, like, why didn't you tell me that you're there? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I love that one. It's a classic. I'm going to go with Lewis because I hate a cocky bastard. And he's not listening to them in the gym the entire time. They're literally telling him. And when he dies, he's still a cocky fuck. He's like, I just stay winning. All I do is win. And then he literally, when he puts the weights down, that's literally what smashes him in the head with the weights. So fucking cocky bastard. I'm going to go with Lewis. He did not help himself at all. He didn't listen to his friends or his classmates. And he just thought he was above it all. And you're not above death, dude. So I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, he's the classic trope of a guy who thinks he's invincible. He said, 36 career games, I've never gotten injured. I'm a specimen. Like, I'm better than death. The fucking dumbass, dude.
He's God. He's playing God. Yeah.
Yeah. I almost want to give the never split up moment to death because it should have been a longer kill for that guy. I mean, that guy should have suffered.
He didn't suffer. He just got a quick one.
Yeah.
Fucking epic, though. Hilarious. All right, those are epic. 2 good moments.
Okay, yeah, two good moments indeed. Vote on our polls that we post all the time on our social media channels on Instagram and X at Never Split Up Pod. Again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube. Thanks so much for all of our new subscribers. We're really close to 300 subscribers. We're trying to hit that milestone. Hopefully, let's try to get that before summertime, maybe in the next month or so. I think we only have like maybe a dozen left, 12, 13 more subscribers left. So, keep leaving your comments. Keep leaving your suggestions. We want to hear from you. And we'll see you next time for Final Destination 4.
Ooh.
And, see you later, guys. Bye.